a sellout crowd, and that means a raucous crowd at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. And why not? A Week 6 clash of two of the NFL's unbeatens. The 5-0 New York Giants taking on the 4-0 New Orleans Saints. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to the NFL on Fox. The Giants, for the third time in franchise history, Troy, off to a 5-0 start. Big reason why? A young man who grew up right here in New Orleans, their quarterback Eli Manning.
Yeah, and this was the passing game that had everybody concerned coming into the season. I mean, they've been absolutely sensational. Eli Manning playing as well as anybody in the league right now at that position. He's playing with great confidence. And, Tom, he's throwing the ball as accurately as I've ever seen. Now, on the other side of the ball for the New York Giants, they've played exceptionally well defensively. They're going to have their hands full against this Saints offense today.
Now, some are surprised the Saints have started 4-0, although you turn back the clock to a conversation you had before training camp ever began with their head coach Sean Payton. He liked his team.
Yeah, and I think it started when he was able to get Greg Williams as his defensive coordinator, and that side of the ball has been absolutely terrific. Of course, offensively, they knew they were going to be good. They've got Drew Brees back. He's playing great. The big difference for them has been their ability to run the football. And Sean Payton said it best. He believes whoever runs the ball the best today will be the team that wins.
Should be one heck of a game from here in the Big Easy. We're back after this from the Verizon Football Zone. The hottest ticket in quite some time at the Superdome in New Orleans for this matchup of unbeatens between the Giants and the Saints. And now it's time for the Autotrader.com Ultimate Quarterback Comparison. Two of the league's best. Drew Brees, 9 touchdown passes. Eli Manning with 10. Autotrader.com, the ultimate automotive marketplace. And for Eli, his first time playing in the city where he grew up in the Superdome. Came here regularly as a youngster with his family. And he's standing by on the field with Pam Oliver.
Well, Eli, this is a building you're obviously very familiar with. What are some of the things, though, you have to avoid, the pitfalls you have to avoid, just because of the circumstances you're in?
Well, you know, we're just going out there. We got to play our regular game. We can't let too much emotion get involved or think about who's here or whatever games you see in here. It's about going out there, performing well, staying in rhythm, and making smart decisions.
Your defense is obviously very improved, so what's critical for your unit today?
Well, we just can't turn the ball over. They cause a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions, and they're very aggressive, so we got to see the blitz, know when we're picked up, everybody be on the same page, communicate very well today. It should be loud, so we just got to avoid the bad plays and stay consistent, stay in our own rhythm.
Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, Pam.
Eli's ready. Drew Brees is ready. Are you ready?
We be us. We be special. We smell great. We see the score. Yes, from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
The Giants and the Saints, Week 6 of the NFL season. New Orleans won the toss, has elected to receive. So right from the get-go, we'll get a look at Drew Brees in this high-octane Saints offense. Lawrence Tynes set to kick it away. Courtney Roby set to return it. Tynes spins it away in this matchup of two of the NFL's unbeatens underway. Roby from the 10 across the 25. And is dropped at the 30-yard line. Take a look at the lineups offensively for New Orleans. Drew Brees in his 9th season in the NFL, his 6th as a New Orleans Saints, and what a difference he's made since coming over from San Diego. Plenty of weapons, including the former New York Giant tight end Jeremy Shockey.
And what a year Jeremy Shockey is having up to this point, leading the team currently in receptions.
Shockey has tried to downplay this matchup against his former team. And on first down, Brees to throw it. Lays it off for Reggie Bush. And he tiptoes his way out of bounds at the 37-yard line. It brings up 2nd and 3 for New Orleans. Defensively for the Giants, outstanding again. They rank #1 in total defense in the NFL. Breeze looking for the long one, and Robert Meacham well covered. Step for step along the way, Terrell Thomas. Of course, this Giants defense comes in beat up. They're without starters Michael Boley, Kenny Phillips, and Aaron Ross. But those who are taking their place have played well.
Well, and I think that's something that's been very interesting watching New York this year is they've had a number of guys miss time because of injuries, and yet the players who have stepped in for them have played very well.
Breeze on 3rd and 3, and he will dive out to the 42, and that will move the chains the first down.
New York defensively that time does a great job of covering everybody up, and not something that's very easy to do against this talented wide receiver core. I mean, they'll run 4 deep at wide receiver, and they get a matchup that they like more times than not, but New York doing a good job of covering them up, and Drew Brees showing some of the things that he can do with his feet to pick up that first down.
First carry of the day. This is Pierre Thomas, who is healthy again and takes over again as a starter in the backfield. Mike Bell started the first 2 games when Thomas was slowed down by a knee injury, but in the last 2 games Thomas has rushed for better than 200 yards.
Yeah, I really like Pierre Thomas. I think he's a fine back, and he has the one quality that I think all running backs have, and that is great vision. You know, there's different ways to do it, but all the great ones have an ability to anticipate where the hole is going to be, and he does a great job of that.
Shockey, playing in his 100th game, makes the catch, and that's good enough for a first down to the New York 45.
Well, that's got to feel pretty good for Jeremy Shockey. He's tried to downplay the emotion all week long, but to get involved here on the first series, come down around a hook route and put the ball right on him. And I know in talking with Drew Brees, I said, is this a game that you really want to feed the ball early to Jeremy Shockey, knowing how much this game means to him going against his former team? He said, we want to get the ball to Jeremy Shockey early in every game.
Great protection. And incomplete. Again, Brees had an eye on Shockey.
I tell you, this offensive line for New Orleans is really an underrated group. I mean, they have done a great job when you consider what they've been able to do offensively for the last several years, and then this year, both throwing it and running it. You know, New York has now covered them up pretty good in the secondary a couple of times, but there's not been a whole lot of pressure there on Drew Brees.
Thomas picks up a hard 3. It'll bring up 3rd down and 7 for New Orleans on their opening drive of the game. It should be noted both of these teams have scored on their first possession in each of their games. For New Orleans, that's 4 opening drives, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Sean Payton in his 4th year as head coach, 45 years young, out of Naperville, Illinois. And of course, for 3 years he was on the Giants staff, wrapping up with Jim Fassel. And Tom Coughlin, in his 6th season, he's taken to the Giants 4 straight years to the playoffs. Juggling catch made by Lance Moore in traffic, and he's down to the 25-yard line. Another first down.
Pretty tight fit right there, trying to get this ball into Lance Moore, and there's hands that get on it. Corey Webster had a chance, and the ball comes up, and just great concentration there by Lance Moore. Big hit at the end by C.C. Brown. But you see the coverage there, great coverage by Corey Webster. He had a chance to make an interception on that one, and the ball was on top of him before he was ready for it, and as a result, Moore gets the deflection.
First down at the New York 25. Thomas met at the line of scrimmage by Umenyiora and a host of others.
I think coming into this game, Tom, we all looked at it and said, wow, the Giants, as far as who they have faced in the last 3 weeks, not real explosive offensive teams. In fact, downright bad offensive teams. And how are they going to hold up against this New Orleans offense? And here we are in this first possession, and I'll tell you, the Saints are doing a good job, because I think this Giants team is a good unit on that side of the ball.
10th play of the drive, 2nd and 7. Moore again. Inside the 20. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for a game break.
Well, you've got two of the unbeatens in the NFC. The other one, the Minnesota Vikings, trying to stay that way. Opening drive, Asante Shanko from Brett Favre, 19 yards on the score. And they're up quickly on top of Baltimore. Tom and Troy.
Thank you, Kurt. What a start again today for Brett Favre. What a start to this season. His first as a Viking. Third down at 2. Pump fake. Moore underneath to the 10. Another first down. Moore led the Saints in receptions a season ago with 79.
Well, so much of what the Giants want to do defensively is they want to get pressure with a 4-man rush, and they're as good at doing it as anyone in the league, and yet they haven't been able to get near Drew Brees here on this first possession. They brought linebacker blitz a couple plays ago, but the Saints offensively picked it up as well. And Drew Brees, I mean, he does a great job finding receivers even under duress. You give him some time to find these guys, and it's going to make for a long day.
Thomas for maybe 2. Pierre Thomas took on a more featured role in the backfield last season after Duke McAllister was injured. He led the Saints with 625 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. Also very good out of the backfield in terms of catching the football.
I think all these backs, whether it's Pierre Thomas or Mike Bell and even the fullback Heath Evans, I mean, you've got to be pretty versatile if you're going to play in this offense for Sean Payton. And you're right, Tom, they all do a nice job of catching the ball.
12th play of the drive. Thomas spins his way inside the 5, down to the 4. It'll bring up third down and less than 2. Got a good block right there by his center, Jonathan Goodwin. Not a Pro Bowl appearance from the group on the field today along the offensive line. The Saints are without their 2-time Pro Bowl left tackle, Jamal Brown.
You know, so many times when it comes to voting for Pro Bowl offensive linemen, teams that run the ball well are the teams that send somebody to Hawaii. And if the Saints continue to do what they've been able to do, I would expect at least one to be making that trip this year.
3rd and 3. Very close to a first down is Thomas. He got a big time block from his fullback, Keith Evans.
I think you've got to be pretty impressed with the play calling of Sean Payton here on this possession, mixing in the run and the pass, doing a good job staying out of some long down situations, back-to-back running plays there with success.
Decision time, perhaps, depending on the measurement here. They're going to bring out the chains. The spot from here looks like it might be about a half yard short of a first down. They are short by less than that. Decision time now for Sean Payton.
Well, the way he's studying that play sheet, they're going for it. I tell you what, Tom, last week or 2 weeks ago, they had the bye last week against the Jets. They went for it on 4th down, 4th and 1, and failed to make it. They also failed to make it twice down here against the Jets on 3rd and 4th down. So from that standpoint, when you look at some of the success that they have not had in short yard situations this year, you'd say, all right, we'll kick the field goal, but Sean feels that they can pick it up.
Mike Bell out of the I formation will get the ball and leaps into the end zone. Touchdown.
a straight handoff to Mike Bell over the top. So much for the Giants taking the crowd noise out of it.
John Carney went to the Pro Bowl as a New York Giant a season ago. On to tack on the point after. A 15-play opening drive for the Saints, 7-0.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com, grab your bag, it's on.
What a very impressive opening drive for Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Told you they scored on every opening possession in every game this season. The same holds true for the Giants. Dominic Hickson healthy again. And returns kicks for the first time since he got injured in week 2. Hickson from the goal line. And is out to the 23. Eli Manning playing in his hometown in the Superdome for the first time. Leads the Giants offense when we return.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light. With the just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light, the difference is drinkability.
First down, first possession for Eli Manning and the New York Giants, trailing 7-0 midway through this opening quarter. Steve Smith, the NFL's leading receiver, with a reception out to the 28-yard line. Not only a homecoming for Eli Manning here today, but also for Brandon Jacobs. He played at Napoleonville Assumption High School. Talked about Smith, the NFL's leading receiver and one of the outstanding offensive lines in the NFL. Manning hit as he throws, but it's caught by Mario Manningham for a first down to the 34. Roman Harper delivered the blow to Eli Manning.
Well, you can expect to see a lot of this from Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator. Roman Harper off the edge forces Eli Manning to get the ball out. Does a good job on the execution to be able to pick that up. And Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, a few weeks ago when they played the Buffalo Bills, brought one or more defensive backs in that game 26 times. Here we are 2 plays in, and he's already shown it once.
Play action. Manning guns it over the middle, in and out of the hands of the tight end Kevin Boss. Covered step for step by Scott Fujita. What a turnaround defensively for New Orleans. A big reason why. Good health again. Their 2 defensive ends, Charles Grant and Will Smith.
They got good health, and then of course they brought in Darren Sharper, who has been outstanding. You know, they're at the safety position already with 5 interceptions, 2 of those returned for touchdowns.
Brandon Jacobs out across the 40 to the 41. Much has been made of Brandon Jacobs' start to this season after back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing campaigns. He's averaged just 3.5 yards per carry. That's down 1.5 yards from each of the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to question, you know, the production, because he had been averaging 5 yards a carry the previous 2 years. But I think it has more to do with the fact that he just has not had the big runs that we've seen from him in previous years.
Third and 3. Manning looking down the field and defended beautifully by Jabari Greer, perhaps the fastest man on the field.
Well, good coverage there. Jabari Greer is locked up one-on-one. He gets turned around, but his makeup speed was phenomenal. If that ball had been able to be laid out a little bit more, then I think you've got a chance to make that play. Dominic Hickson does, but great makeup play there by Jabari Greer.
Greer 2 times during his collegiate career at Tennessee won the Southeastern Conference Championship in the 60-meter hurdles. He can fly. Reggie Bush will let it bounce, and it's into the end zone. So Breeze and the Saints trying to tack on to this 7-0 lead.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Hyundai Assurance, a little certainty in uncertain times. By DirecTV, no one else has all your favorite channels in HD. And by Taco Bell, think outside the bun.
First time all year a defense has stopped the Giants from getting on the scoreboard in their opening possession. And what an opening drive for Drew Brees and the Saints. Brees to throw it on first down. Wide open Lance Moore. And Moore already his 4th catch of the day.
You know, Tom, one of the things that the Saints like to do is they like to bring in backup offensive tackle Zach Strief. They'll put him at the tight end position here. It just solidifies their pass protection or run game. They're either going to run the ball when he's in the game at that spot, or they're going to go off play action. That time they go play action. Giants expecting the run. They get the backers up, and a nice completion there to Lance Moore.
Fake. And then what a throw. Drew Brees talked about that. His receivers talked about that when we met Friday. That on passes like that, he'll throw it behind the receiver. He did so here.
Shows you the respect the Giants have. They got Terrell Thomas, a corner, going out and covering Jeremy Shockey. And you're right. Just because somebody's on him and in good coverage, that doesn't keep Drew Brees from throwing the football. We saw it on Friday throughout practice. We see it each and every week in these games. He does as good a job as anybody in the league at making a defense cover the entire field.
Shockey playing in his 100th regular season game today, and a catch in every one of them. Again throwing. And again, a reception this time by Marcus Colston. And he's to the 35. My, oh my, what a start for the Saints so far.
You talk about some of the things that Drew Brees does in practice. You know, he practices those types of throws like we saw 2 plays ago there to Jeremy Shockey. And so these receivers expect it. Regardless if a defender's running with them, they expect a back shoulder throw. They expect a low outside throw shading away from the defender. And when you've got receivers that are expecting the ball because he distributes it so well, you know, you have the kind of passing game that the Saints have had.
Jeffery Henderson steps out of bounds at the Giants 29.
See, Drew, a lot of what you have to do at quarterback is you have to be able to establish protection. And so you're trying to identify who the Mike linebacker is. A defense knows that. They move that guy around. And once you identify who the Mike linebacker is, then everyone else along that offensive line knows exactly who they're going to block. You saw him right there, point out there to the middle linebacker. And that's how protection gets established.
Colston inside the 5. Touchdown. What a throw by Brees right on the button.
And Marcus Colston, he's going to go down the seam, and here's another one of those throws. I mean, you've got decent coverage there. Antonio Pierce trying to run with him. But Drew Brees has such confidence in his ability to put the ball where he wants to. It's a high throw on the back shoulder. Only his guy can make the play. Behind the linebacker Pierce and in front of the safety.
And you saw as Colston came down, it didn't appear as though any part of his body touched the ground. He landed on a defender, but was still able to roll in for the touchdown. And I think that Tom Coughlin is going to challenge that decision.
We'll take a closer look here and see if he was able to get into the end zone. He's on a body there.
Touchdown.
From that angle, Tom, it does not look like he was on the ground. He's on top of C.C. Brent. Well, his elbow's down, and that one will come back.
Tom Coughlin challenging the ruling on the field as to the spot of the ball.
The ball came down on a player. However, his right elbow hit in the field of play on the 1 yard line, and the ball was at the 1 yard line at the time. Therefore, the ball will be placed at the 1 yard line, first and goal. There are no charged timeouts.
And Hockley, our referee.
Yeah, it's a great shot right here. As you're going to see, he is on top of C.C. Brown, but the right elbow clearly on the ground. A good call and a good challenge there by Tom Coughlin.
Tom Sifferman, our replay official today. Drew Brees on this drive is 5 for 5, 79 yards, and a yard away from a 2-touchdown lead in the opening quarter.
Just beyond the 1 yard line. Who is that with 24?
Mike Bell checks back into the backfield out of the I formation behind Heath Evans. Play fake to him, looking for Shockey. Touchdown. First touchdown pass for Brees in his last 85 attempts.
Well, first and goal is the best time to run play action. It's hard on these linebackers. You got Clark trying to stay up with Shockey, and once he comes inside and you give him that much field to run away, it's next to impossible to defend.
And right now, this Saints offense looks impossible to defend. 14 points in the opening quarter, and the former Giant with a touchdown. Drew Brees has hit on 11 of his first 13. He threw 9 touchdown passes the first 2 weeks of the season, 6 in the opener against Detroit. The last 2 games, the Saints have won without having to pile up big points and big numbers offensively because of this outstanding defense. And a 14-0 lead in the opening quarter here today. Hickson from the 5. And a big return for Hickson. He is wrestled down close to midfield by the kicker, Thomas Morstead.
Well, here's Hickson. You see the wedge out in front of him, and he just takes it right up the middle. Just great blocking there by the guys in front. I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a tackle by Morstead, being able to bring Hickson to the ground, because if he's able to get by Morstead here, there is nobody left. I mean, he is gone.
Jacobs back to the line of scrimmage.
You look at this game coming in, Tom, and I felt that looking at the Saints offensively against this Giants defense, that the matchups that they create and the problems that the Saints can present could be problematic for the Giants. So far it has been through the first couple of series. Now this is just the Giants' second offensive possession. But this looks like if the Giants are going to hang in here, they're going to have to be scoring some points right alongside with New Orleans, because right now we've not seen anything to suggest the Giants are going to slow them down.
Jacobs Inside the 40, down to the 36-yard line, and that'll be a first down. Jacobs running the ball well early in this opening quarter.
And to go back kind of to what we were talking about last time, Brandon Jacobs, how productive has he been? I don't know that he's really running any differently. Last year, he averaged about one 20-yard run for every game he played. This year, through 5 games, he's only had 1. And that, as much as anything, is why his yard per carry average is down. His typical runs are pretty consistent with what we've seen before.
Eli down the middle of the field and batted away by Tracy Porter, a second-round pick out of Indiana a season ago, who played in just 5 games and then got hurt.
This is a defensive secondary that has great speed. Tracy Porter, as you can tell, running side by side there with Mario Manningham, and Manningham being one of the big play guys for this Giants offensive attack.
Second and 10. Jacobs finds a hole and bangs his way down to the 31-yard line. Jacobs 4 carries, and depending on the spot here, that's now 26 rushing yards for Brandon Jacobs. Still not seen Ahmad Bradshaw's off to a great start this season for the Giants. 3rd and 5. Wide open and off the fingertips of Steve Smith. Perhaps slightly overthrown by Eli Manning.
Boy, they missed an opportunity for a touchdown there. Eli Manning knows it. Looky here, there's no safety in the middle of the field. Everybody's matched up one-on-one, and they have the perfect route on with Smith going right down the middle of the field. Sharper can't get underneath him, and you got outside technique there by Randall Gay, and a better throw, and that's about as easy as they come in this league.
Tynes has missed 3 times this season, but was 3 for 3 last week against Oakland. A timeout on the field, a missed touchdown, and Eli knew it was there.
Here's Darren Sharper on that last play, and he's up around the line of scrimmage, and at the snap now he's trying to get underneath Steve Smith, and what he was anticipating was that the Giants were just going to try to pick up the first down at the chains, and if that were the case, that would have been a good coverage call. But the Giants had the perfect pass on in running Smith through the seam and just failed to execute the play.
Tynes from 49 yards away. His longest so far this season is 45. And it is good. So after New Orleans jumps out to a 14-0 lead, the Giants able to quiet things down at least temporarily, getting on the board to make it 14-3. And now the question is, if you're standing on that Giants sideline on defense, trying to figure out a way to slow down Drew Brees and the Saints offensively.
Well, that's going to be the real key right now. I mean, there's no question, because what we've seen of the Saints on their first 2 possessions offensively, I mean, you don't see the Giants doing anything to slow them down. I would expect to see a lot more pressure in this possession, from the Giants defensively. Missed opportunity there for the New York offense to be able to cut it to a 7-point game, having to settle for 3. This does not look like it's going to be a game where 3 points are going to help you too much.
Of course, this is a very experienced Giants team. They've played in so many big games the last number of years, winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and most of those pieces are still in place, so they won't be rattled. So the big return by Hickson leads to a field goal for the Giants. And now the question is, can Justin Tuck and company find a way to slow down, not slow down, halt this New Orleans offense? Courtney Roby from the 1. And he's tackled at the 27-yard line. So that will be the end of the opening quarter, although there is a flag on the field, so we'll hold on a minute. On what appeared to be the final play of this opening quarter at the Superdome. This might be a horse collar call against Travis Beckham.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness by the kicking team. It was a horse collar. That 15-yard penalty is enforced from the end of the run. First down, and that's the end of the first quarter.
14-3 at the end of the opening quarter in New Orleans. The NFL on Fox continues after a word from your local Fox station. 21 plays in the opening quarter for the Saints offensively. A couple of touchdowns, and they've had the football for 10.5 minutes. Pierre Thomas, a gain of 9 on first down, crossing into New York territory to the 48.
Well, if you look at this New York Giants defense and what they had done coming into this ball game, Tom, they were holding opponents to passing for only 104 yards, and in the first quarter, I mean, Drew Brees surpassed that. And then you question, what the caliber of the teams are they've been facing, and there's Bill Sheridan, the defensive coordinator, and they've not been able to get any pressure on Drew Brees with a 4-man rush. I would expect to see a little bit more from the linebackers and secondary players.
Umenyiora making a stop on Thomas, very close to another first down.
And here's what they've done to O.C. Umenyiora on the outside, and there you've got Jamon Bushrod, the left tackle, and he's been a good find for this New Orleans team. They're without Jamal Brown, a 2-time Pro Bowl player. He's on IR, and so they've had to put Bushrod in there, and he didn't play 2 weeks ago because of injury, but he has done a good job here in the early going against O.C. Umenyiora.
You talk about the Giants and the level of competition they have played, especially the last 3 games. Not a finger laid on Brees yet in his 13 pass attempts. But the last 3 games, the teams have combined for a 1-14 record. And things change in a hurry today as far as the schedule goes. Another catch made by Jeremy Shockey. That is his 4th of the game and another first down.
Well, see here, you see the pocket that Drew Brees has to step into. They bring Pierce this time. They do bring the linebacker trying to get pressure on him, but a perfectly thrown pass out on the sideline there to Jeremy Shockey.
Shockey went to the Pro Bowl 4 times as a New York Giant, spending 6 years there after they drafted him #1 in 2002 out of Miami. Play action, Brees looking for 6 more. He's got it. Flag down on the field. Touchdown catch made by Robert Meacham, but again a flag is down.
There was a collision on the other side of the field.
Contact, defense number 20. The penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Well, here's Robert Meacham, and this is what he does. I mean, he's a speed guy. They want to get him vertical down the field, straight up the seam, and he just goes up and makes a play. I mean, C.C. Brown, who is a better run defender than he is cover safety, just loses the ball, just fails to make a play on the ball with it in the air.
Point after is blocked. Looked like Bruce Johnson got a paw on that point after. But a home run ball. Brees to Meacham. 20-0 Saints.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Cadillac. by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And you'll find the car you want at the price you want at Autotrader.com, the ultimate automotive marketplace.
Well, the only thing that has gone right on defense so far today for the Giants, the point after a moment ago, which was blocked by Fred Robbins.
They have made it look easy, haven't they?
Got the big return, then the penalty on the horse collar tackle. And Breeze with a short field finds Meacham for the touchdown. Hickson healthy again and returning kicks, and he's out to the 27-yard line.
There's another look at that touchdown with Robert Meacham going up the hash, and as I said, C.C. Brown is in a great position to make a play on this ball. They had coverage called. Bill Sheridan expecting pass, and yet they just weren't able to make a play with the ball in the air. Well, you look at this Giants secondary, and they're shorthanded. I mean, when you're playing Oakland and Tampa Bay and Kansas City, you can hold up against those teams, but when you're playing against one of the elite passing teams in the NFL, and you're without an Aaron Ross and a Kenny Phillips against this group, you're going to get exposed.
First down reception made by Mario Manningham, and that's a first down out to the 38-yard line. Let's check in with Pam Oliver.
Well, Tom, Saints strong side linebacker Scott Fujita was MIA for much of the first quarter. He didn't even bother to grab his helmet on the Saints' last defensive series. The Saints report Fujita has a lower leg injury and his return is questionable. Back to you.
And thank you. Fujita was the first defensive addition when Sean Payton took over as head coach, and he had better than 100 tackles in 3 years since coming to New Orleans.
They never anticipated that he would be the player that he had become for New Orleans.
First carry today for Ahmad Bradshaw. No gain. Of course, the last 2 days on Fox, we've had the American League Championship Series travel day today. The Yankees winning a thriller in extra innings last night in the Bronx. The sheen shifts to Anaheim. Game 3 tomorrow, and again an afternoon start. 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. That will be Andy Pettitte against Jared Weaver. Blitz coming, and Manning had to let it go early.
Well, I like what the Saints are doing defensively. They showed pressure to Eli Manning's right side, and as you saw, Eli was trying to get them directed this way. He wants the offensive line to work in that direction, and then they came off the backside. They rotated the blitz and came off the backside once Eli had directed protection the other way.
3rd and 10. Catch depending on the spot. We'll see if it's a first down. Reception made by Hickson. He needed to get to the 49, and the nose of the ball appears to be right on it. First down. That's a big first down for the Giants.
What sure is. I mean, they needed to be able to maintain possession and keep this drive going based on what New Orleans has been able to do on the offensive side of the ball themselves. And Tom Coughlin was over on the sideline, and Tom, I think even if they had not have picked up the first down right there, it looked like Coughlin was going to go for it on 4th down anyway.
Sean Payton with a question to Ed Hockley, I'm sure, about the spot of that ball.
New Orleans is challenging the ruling on the field that it was a first down.
So Ed Hockley will take a look at it, and we will step aside.
when the receiver catches the ball in the air and is then driven back, the point of forward progress is when the ball first comes into his hands and he catches the ball. That was beyond the first down line. Therefore, the ruling on the field stands. It is a first down. New Orleans is charged with their first timeout.
Well, here's a better look at it. You've got Dominic Hickson. He's well past the first down line there. And when the ball is caught, you know, there's really no angle to be able to tell with any real certainty as to where he was when he made the catch. So they kept it as it was. And Eli was frustrated in that he wanted to get the ball snapped. And that play was coming in a lot later than what he had wanted.
10:33 to play until halftime. The Giants coming to town at 5-0. Saints 4-0, coming off a bye week last week. Now out to a 20-3 lead. Ahmad Bradshaw picks up close to 13 on first down, and he's inside the 40 down to the 38-yard line. Got a good block from Steve Smith.
You know, this is the kind of things we've been seeing all year so far from Ahmad Bradshaw. He's got great power, but he's got great quickness. You see the move right there that he's able to put on Darren Sharper. I mean, he is a hard guy to get on the ground. You see the little shake and bake, and there goes Sharper. He's been an exciting player through these 5 games.
Bradshaw on a little more than half the number of carries given to Brandon Jacobs. Leads the Giants in rushing yards. He'll get it again. Lunges inside the 35, close to the 33.
Well, I don't think there's any denying that he's been awfully effective when he's been in these games, but I also think it's fair to say that, you know, the pounding and the banging on a defensive front by Brandon Jacobs, I do think that has something to do with the success that Ahmad Bradshaw has had as well. I know that as long as the Giants continue to run the ball like they have through the early part of this year, there's not going to be any lineup changes anytime soon.
Intercepted. Darren Sharper with flags all over the field. He's going to go ahead and take it to the end zone just in case. I think the flags came down and the play was blown dead before it ever started. Darren Sharper has returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns.
Personal foul, roughing the quarterback. Defense number 51. Hit the quarterback high. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's a huge call.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Vilma that came in, and that's a good call. It's a good call. You're going to see Vilma come in. He lowers his helmet. It's helmet to helmet. I mean, that's textbook roughing the passer there. I tell you, Darren Sharper, he was sitting on that route, and he saw it release from Eli's hands and knew immediately where he was going with the break. And, you know, he is the guy that Eli and Tom Coughlin and everybody on that side of the ball said, we got to know where Darren Sharper is at all times. He has been our nemesis. I mean, he has made a lot of plays against us.
So the penalty puts the ball at the New Orleans 19-yard line. First down for the Giants. Jacobs plows his way inside the 15, down to the 11. Jacobs running hard, running effectively early on here today. 5 carries, 34 yards for Brandon Jacobs.
Yeah, you see him here. Brandon Jacobs looks like he's a little banged up. But he laid on the ground there for a while after that run, and now he's coming off, and they're gonna look at him. You got a trainer following him over to the bench, but something didn't seem right.
So Bradshaw back in, and he'll get it. Close to the 10-yard line. About a yard short of the first down.
Here's that previous run by Brandon Jacobs, and you know, he gets a helmet down low. It looked like it might have been around his arm or forearm, but you see him there, and he laid there for a few seconds, which is not typical of him, and now they got the medical staff over there evaluating him.
3rd down and a yard. Giants need a touchdown on this drive. First down and a touchdown on this drive. Ahmad Bradshaw, his third rushing touchdown this season, and that's a big one for the Giants.
You can see the action here in the backfield and just how sneaky Ahmad Bradshaw is. They're going to pull these guys here, and then there's not much room there. And Bradshaw is able to get into that block and then out to the corner. And he's a hard guy to see for these defensive linemen and linebackers because he's so low to the ground.
Point after is good by Lawrence Tynes. So an interception that never happened. The big penalty on the hit by Vilma, keeping the Giants drive alive, and Bradshaw cashes in.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by the GMC Sierra, the official vehicle of the NFL.
The Giants medical staff still taking a look at Brandon Jacobs. We're being told it's a stinger around the neck, upper part of the shoulder area. Well, the Giants go 73 yards on 9 plays, and roughing the passer penalty against Vilma, keeping the drive alive. Bradshaw with a touchdown run. Courtney Roby takes a lick from Brian Keel at the 27-yard line, and again flags come down.
Personal foul, face mask or helmet opening by the defense, by the kicking team. That 15-yard penalty is enforced from the end of the return. First down.
Well, you go back to 1930, and unbeaten, untied teams have played each other on week 6, or later only 4 times in 73. Then in 2004, the Patriots a run of 3 in a row. Again in 2007, beating the Cowboys and the Colts in 2007 as well. So here we are for just the 5th time in week 6. And a pitch to Reggie Bush. And the former Heisman Trophy winner out of USC turns the corner, is run out of bounds. A gain of 10 on first down.
I'll tell you, a heck of a block on the outside by Devery Henderson. You know, without that block, Reggie Bush isn't able to pick up near the yards that he did. He's able to seal that corner on Corey Webster and get Bush on around that block.
They spot the ball a yard short of the first down, so 2nd and 1. And Bell will not get the first down yardage.
We talked about it coming in, Tom, that Sean Payton on Friday said, I really think the team that runs the ball the best is going to be the team that ultimately wins this game. And I kind of laughed at that, and I said, you know, I bet you never would have said that in any other year, you know, because they couldn't run the ball that effectively. But I'm not so sure that Sean Payton was even believing that. I mean, based on what they have done here in this first half and the day that Drew Brees is having, I think I'd just keep letting Drew Brees drop back and throw that football until the Giants are able to do something more about it.
3rd down, converted into a first down by Mike Bell to the New York 47.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about the Saints and their ability to run the football this year. Not a lot of changes really from previous years. Same offensive linemen, with the exception of their left tackle. Same running backs. But I think a couple things. One, there was a much bigger emphasis on running the football this offseason. And then 2, the play of the defense. And those two go hand in hand. You run the ball better, you play better defense. When you play better defense, you tend to run the ball better. You look around the league, and that's the way it goes.
Brees all day to throw, looking for Colston. Contact and a flag.
It looked like their feet just got caught up, and that's unfortunate. I'm not sure I agree with that call. Corey Webster's in good position. He's looking back for the ball. No real contact, you know, other than
interference. Defense number 23 is not playing the ball. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
I think he was playing the ball. I mean, he had his eyes back. He was looking for it. At the last minute, he did turn to see if he could find the receiver, but you know, no contact other than their feet getting tangled up. And I think even Marcus Colston, you see the smile on his face after that play, and I think he knew it shouldn't have been called as well.
So they pick up 35 yards on that penalty.
I'll tell you, there's no question, though, that the Saints receivers have these defensive backs on their heels.
Breeze drops it off to Evans. And the former Patriot is down to the 6-yard line. Evans making his 8th catch of the season. A very valuable addition, says Sean Payton. Heath Evans, along with David Thomas, coming from a winning atmosphere in New England.
That fullback position for the Saints is an important position on this team. You know, much more so than a lot of the other teams around the league. I mean, that guy's got to be a good blocker for the lead back. He's got to be someone who can catch the football and then run with it at times too.
Bell to the end zone. Touchdown. And a flag down right at the line of scrimmage. So we will wait.
I think there was a reason why they were able to get to the edge.
Offense number 44. 10-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Of course, you talk about a guy and they get him for a penalty.
That's the way that deal works.
That's right.
I think that's why they were able to get Bell on the edge, was because of the hold. Here's Heath Evans, 44, and as I was saying, he's a heck of a lead blocker, but he comes in there on Clark, and he's got the left arm there, which keeps Clark from being able to turn that play back inside.
Well, they back him up to the 17-yard line. Is it on Fred Robbins, or was he drawn offside?
Encroachment defense number 98. 5-yard penalty. It's second down.
The 2nd and 15 goes to 2nd and 10. Let's listen to Drew Brees.
Yeah, he wasn't even trying to draw him off sides. He was just changing the play, and when he pulled out to audible, that's when they got the penalty.
Right here. Oh, right here.
Three penalties against the Giants on this drive, covering 55 yards. Play action to the end zone. Touchdown, Lance Moore. The 100th touchdown pass is a Saint for Drew Brees.
Well, again, they run this one off play action. They're going to pull left guard Carl Nix and make it look like run. You see him here. He pulls play action, and then you get Moore right in behind that. Because of the play action, again, we saw this earlier. You get the linebackers then biting on the run, having to respect that, and it opens up a big window there for the touchdown.
Carney had the last point after blocked. This one is good. 27 points. And there's still 5 minutes left in the opening half. Tom Coughlin and the Giants trying to get it together in a hurry. Lance Moore leading the way, 5 receptions and a touchdown a moment ago. 12 yards out from Drew Brees. Saints have piled up 238 yards of offense against what was the #1 ranked defense in the NFL through 5 weeks. Hickson deep in his own end zone, and another big return for Dominant Hickson. Still on his feet and tackled at the 36-yard line by Chris Reese. So Hickson healthy again returning kicks again for the first time since he got hurt week 2 in Dallas.
Well, he's given him a chance. There's no doubt on these last 2 kick returns what he's been able to do with field position. He hits it again in the middle, and it looked like had he have been able to stay back to the middle of the field, he might have been able to take that one to the house. There's the pass interference call that was so costly against Corey Webster. I don't agree with the call. And then the touchdown there at the end to Lance Moore, and just great play action fake in the backfield, opening up that lane. I tell you, I think we already knew it, and the Giants knew it, but Drew Brees isn't Jamarcus Russell or Matt Castle.
Ahmad Bradshaw slips a couple of tackles and picks up a couple of yards. So 4:40 to play until halftime, and after the big return, the Giants, great field position to try and cut into this 17-point deficit.
There's a good look there of Drew Brees, and you know, this isn't even surprising to me, and I don't think it is anybody who's been following the New Orleans Saints and what he's been able to do. There's nobody that prepares as hard as what he does on this team, and he does a terrific job each and every week of getting himself ready to play. I think Sean Payton said it best. Drew Brees simply knows how to win.
So does Eli. That's Kevin Boss, the tight end, a first down to the 15.
They're putting quite a bit of pressure now on this Giants offense to match score with the Saints. And it's not about just getting down here and then having to settle for field goals, because the Saints are coming away with touchdowns, but they do get the good return there by Hickson. And sometimes as a quarterback, you see a game unfold like this and you start pressing a little bit, thinking that you've got to do some things that you don't really want to have to do, because you do want to score these points. But so far I've seen Eli maintain some real patience.
Little delay to Bradshaw, and read beautifully by Scott Shanley. Shanley, like the injured Scott Fujita, a former Dallas Cowboy, and both have played quite well since coming to the Saints.
Well, they have. Yeah, I think that when they brought in Scott Shanley and Scott Fujita, it appeared anyway, that was Sean Payton's first year, that you thought, well, these guys are going to be here for a couple of years until they find somebody else. But they've been exceptional players. I mean, they are really good players. In fact, Greg Williams said that he knew they were good players, but they both are much better players than he ever anticipated.
Take a peek ahead to the NFL on Fox next week, a doubleheader weekend. Many will see the Vikings and the Steelers, some the 49ers and the Texans. You and I, Mr. Aikman, will be in your home turf, Dallas. The Falcons and the Cowboys, and the Ford Drive 1 NFL Fox Sunday pregame show begins noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching Matt Ryan again. I saw him a couple of weeks ago against New England, and boy, what a good young player he is.
And a good young man. Second and 9 to the end zone, and pulled out of the arms of Sharper by Mario Manningham, and that is a touchdown for the Giants.
And I'll tell you what, Darren Sharper thought he had another one, and when the ball was in the air, I did too. He was in a position, the ball was late. Eli was late on the throw. It's a corner route, and you've got to get this out in a hurry. But Sharper gets a good break on it, and he's wondering how he wasn't able to make that play. It's a great job, though, by the New York Giants of answering the bell and going down there and coming away with a touchdown, all set up by the return of Dominic Hickson.
Point after good by Tides to make it a 10-point game, 27-17.
And Eli's getting some time himself. You know, when the Saints have been able to get pressure on Eli, they've had to do it with some secondary blitzes. Their front four has not gotten much pressure on him either. A great play there by Mario Manningham, and then there's the return that set it all up.
A 68-yard return by Hickson. They missed him returning kicks. Sonoris Moss took over for Hickson after he left the Dallas game in the first quarter with a knee sprain. You hear coaches say it all the time, and I think oftentimes those of us, or I'm guilty for sure, you hear about, yeah, offense, defense, special teams, but when you have guys like Hickson, what a difference that area can make in a team.
Well, especially when you get into a game like this. Jimmy Johnson used to always tell us that, hey, you got to win 2 of the 3 phases. You got to win either on offense and defense, or you got to win either offense and defense and then the special teams. And if you do that, you got a real good chance of winning the ball game. And in this game, I mean, you think about it, how poorly the Giants defensively have played. And it's the special teams and the Giants offense that have kept them in this ball game. And I know right now Tom Coughlin's got to be standing over there thinking, we've just got to make one stop here in this first half and not let them come away with any more points prior to intermission.
Well, lots of time for Breeze and the Saints. Roby with a good return. The 29-yard line. Weekdays, mates to lunchtime, your new primetime. FoxSports.com delivers you lunch with benefits. You log on and check out new episodes of original sports shows delivered to your desktop every Monday through Friday at 1 Eastern. Jake Lazier tomorrow. Brian Billick comes your way on Tuesday, and the rest of the lineup.
When you're working with Brian Billick, you really punch that coach speak with Brian Billick. I mean, you guys play that one up?
Oh, there's no. It's the only one we do play. Reggie Bush on a first down carry to the 32-yard line.
So many of these games, Tom, in the league today, whether it's scoring points before the end of a half or certainly at the end of a game. I mean, so many of these games are one-possession games that you better be good when you get into these types of situations.
Breeze, great protection again. Colston the catch. Still on his feet. All the way down to the 28-yard line. A 40-yard completion.
Well, the Giants are simply just outmanned. I mean, they've got too many good players across the board. They're in a zone coverage there. And I tell you, you play zone against Drew Brees with protection, you have absolutely no chance. And the only thing you can really do at this point is try to somehow bring pressure off the edge, get in Drew Brees' face, and hope that you can get there before these receivers are able to create any kind of separation.
Colston in traffic. What a catch. And he's inside the 10. It's 1st and goal. He beat Terrell Thomas to the football.
What are you talking about? Colston, who's 6'4", against Terrell Thomas at 6 foot, and Brees throws that ball up high where only Marcus Colston can make the play.
2-minute warning, and the Saints knock it on the door again.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by AT&T. Your world delivered.
Well, few players in the era of free agency have made as little an impact as Drew Brees has made over his first 3 years, and now a 4th season with the Saints. Took him to a championship game, an NFC championship game in '06. Been to 2 Pro Bowls and leads the NFL in passing yards over the last 3 years. He's been as good as it gets.
I don't know how you can talk about the great quarterbacks in the league and not put him, right near the top. And the guys that we talk about, and rightfully so, are Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And he seems to be the one who's overlooked, and that shouldn't happen any longer. I mean, he's been terrific. And now you give him a running game and you give him a defense.
Well, they're 4-0 for a reason. Reasons. 2nd and goal. They hand it to Meacham. And he's chopped down at the 1-yard line. That was played well defensively by the Giants.
That's one thing that we've kind of gotten used to seeing from Sean Payton over the years. I mean, he likes to come with some different types of plays, reverses, screen plays. We've seen halfback passes and double reverses. And, down here in this area of the field, you don't typically see a play caller call those types of plays. But I can assure you, Sean Payton has no reservations about calling anything that's on that sheet right there. Here's the action in the backfield, thinking that maybe you can get them to overflow just a little bit, but you know, so much of their base offense, certainly the passing game, is they can call anything that they want. The running game, even running right at them, has been pretty effective. I don't know that misdirection was really needed there.
Visa halftime report coming up momentarily. Highlights from around the league and updated and up to the second statistics. Strief comes in as an extra body up front. Bell trying to leap into the end zone for a second time, and it looks like he's denied the goal line. Timeout called by the Giants. And now an interesting decision for Peyton. You have a 10-point lead. A 4th down and goal from inside the 1. They've already gone once 4th and goal today. Got a touchdown. Will he do it again?
Well, guess what? He's going for it again. I mean, he could make this a 2-touchdown game going in at half. And like I said the first time he went for it, we've seen him do it a lot, you know, over the course of his 4 years as a head coach. And even with of course, they had the success there earlier in the first quarter. Even with the lack of success overall, though, he's sticking with it. I tell you, though, I like this call. I like the call. I like that he's putting the trust, you know, in this offensive group. And I think he understands that, you know, look, the Giants have had their share of success here moving the football and coming away with some points themselves.
4th and goal from inside the 1.
We'll almost anticipate play action here.
Thomas, no signal. And he is denied the end zone on 4th down. That is a big stop for New York.
Yes, it is. It's a good job by the defense there, not allowing the Saints offensively to get any kind of push. They hold their own and are able to make a key goal line stand.
Well after the play, flags.
The ball was short of the goal line, therefore it's the Giants' ball, 1st down. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct on New Orleans. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
Not sure what he meant there by half the distance to the goal. If in fact it's against New Orleans, it would get the New York Giants off the goal line.
15 yards, the ball will be on the 15-yard line.
Yeah, so that, you know, one, you don't make it. I mean, there's 2 things there. You don't make the touchdown, but at least you're going to give the ball to New York, you know, on the 1-yard line, basically about the 6-inch line. And instead, you get the penalty, and now you get them off the goal line, and they're able to operate with their entire playbook with time on the clock.
So 55 seconds to play until halftime. It almost looked like Thomas just didn't stick his nose in there.
He just never was able to get anything going, and there was enough of a push by New York defensively that where he wanted to go, he couldn't run, and he couldn't get out on the edge and then punch it across the goal line. And for any offensive player, I mean, that's frustrating when you think that you've only got so far to go to get a touchdown and you're not able to pick that up.
Well, now apparently they're going to take a look to make sure upstairs in the final 2 minutes of the half that this was not a touchdown.
See the great penetration there, and Osi Umenyiora is the one who ultimately was able to bend him backwards and stop his forward progress. And I don't know that there's any kind of look that we're going to see that's going to show that he did in fact cross the goal line.
Danny Clark along with Umenyiora there to halt the progress of Thomas.
But that's a big momentum shift here if this stands, that it's not a touchdown, and I believe that it will. You know, something that the Giants can feel good about going in at halftime.
The stands as called. It's Giants ball, 1st down.
Well, now if you're the Giants with less than a minute and you have, well, you're out of timeouts. Eli Eli Manning operates out of his shotgun from his own 15. He's going to put it up. Manningham across the middle, and he's to the 34-yard line.
And that's the weakness right now, what the Saints are doing defensively. They're going to run coverage on the boundaries. They don't want the clock to stop. And so the voids now in that coverage, in this zone defense that they ran, is going to be in the middle of the field, and they're going to have to be quicker at getting the ball snapped after each play.
Ball is loose on the hit from behind. Still loose. And loose again after Fujita watches as his teammate Shanley picks it up. And then recovered in the end zone by Kevin Boss. And we're waiting on the officials to tell us exactly the ruling on the field. Who has it and where?
Yeah, it looks like Hockley is going to rule that he was down and that it's Saints ball.
I think they're saying Shanley was down after the initial recovery.
There's the backside blitz by Roman Harper. We've seen that now a few times in this first half with success. Shanley picks it up. And Eli just never feels that coming down the backside. And on the tail end of this, Shanley with the ball, and he fumbles, but they ruled him down, and that was a good call as well. It looked like he was on the ground prior to the ball coming loose.
And there's an injured Giant down on the field.
Please reset the game clock to 18. 18 seconds were on the clock when the runner was ruled down.
Kareem McKenzie is down on the field for the Giants. That ball was just beginning to come loose.
Yeah, I tell you, it's closer than what I initially thought. It looked like the ball started to come loose maybe before he did go to the ground. And McKenzie, you see right here, I mean, he steps on the ball, and that's why he's on the ground.
So what you have here is, if the play on the field, the ruling on the field is confirmed, the Saints are going to have the ball at the 7-yard line. But we'll see again if they believe that Shanley had possession.
Well, I've got to believe, Tom, that they're going to review this entire play to make sure that they've got it right. But yet I've not heard Ed Hockley indicate that that is what they're going to do.
Ed Hockley now trotting to the near sideline as they take McKenzie off on a cart. We certainly hope he's okay. McKenzie in his 9th season out of Penn State left the Jets as a free agent to come to the Giants 5 years ago.
We'll go back and take another look at, whether or not the ball was coming out at the end of this play when Scott Shanley, had it in his possession. And it's close, but it looks to me like the ball is starting to come loose prior to him going to the ground. And if that's the case, then it would be the Giants' ball. It would be a safety is what it would be. It would be recovered in the end zone. But at least then you're not giving the ball to New Orleans with great field position going in potentially for a touchdown before the end of this half with 18 seconds left.
Well, you talk about the roller coaster of emotion and of momentum here over the last 40 seconds. On a 4th and goal inside the 1, the Giants defense stands tall, denies Pierre Thomas the end zone for a touchdown that would have put him in front 34-17. Giants get the ball after a penalty on that play out at their own 15. They get a big pass play. And now the fumble. And it looks like New Orleans is going to get it inside the 10 with a chance to score yet again. Here comes Ed Hockley.
We reviewed whether the ball was fumbled down near the goal line and ultimately recovered by New York in the end zone. The ruling is, though, that the ball, although it had come loose from a hand, it was still pinned between the player's arm and his shoulder pad. Therefore, he still had possession when his knee hit the ground. The ruling stands as called. It's New Orleans ball, first down.
Not a lot of argument over there by Tom Coughlin. We'll see if the Giants can keep New Orleans from getting into the end zone. 18 seconds remain. Saints do have a timeout left. Batted down at the line of scrimmage. Justin Tuck got a paw on it. Second down.
Tell you, the New York Giants are still pretty much sticking with a four-man rush without any pressure.
That snaps a string of 15 consecutive completed passes by Drew Brees. Only been hit twice. Juggle the snap, handoff to Reggie Bush. Touchdown.
What allowed the Saints to run the ball there was the fact that they had one timeout left. If they didn't score and they were in bounds, they could use it to stop the clock. Good job by Bushrod there on O.C. Umenyiora, and then look at Lance Moore. He doesn't block anybody, but he didn't have to. He was in the way there, and he allowed Reggie Bush to then get on the edge.
Carney with a point after. What an unbelievable offensive display here in this first half against a very good Giants defense. 315 total yards of offense for the Saints. And for Drew Brees, well, the pictures tell you the story in the opening half.
Well, what can you say? You come into a game like this, and as I said, the Giants defensively in the secondary are a little short-handed. When you consider the fact that Kenny Phillips is on IR, Aaron Ross has been inactive all season long, and you know, when you put out the skill players that the Saints do with Marcus Colston and Devery Henderson and Meacham and Lance Moore, and then in addition to that, you know, some pretty good running backs and a quarterback with the accuracy and the acumen of Drew Brees. It's going to be a hard team to stop. I mean, you talk about what they've done yardage-wise here in the first half. This was a defense coming into this game that was only giving up 210 yards total offense, you know, in the games, and the Saints have pretty much had their way with them.
Saints have scored as many points in this first half as the Giants had allowed the entire season. And again, you got to remember the competition level. I mean, let's be honest about it. You know, outside of the opener against the Redskins and then beating a good Dallas team in week 2, been a very fortuitous schedule for the Giants. 3 straight weeks against teams that have combined for 1 win.
Well, I would agree with that. I mean, there's no question the Saints are a much better football team than those that the Giants have played here recently. But you know, when we're talking about the New York Giants, I mean, this is a team that is expected to be contending for the Super Bowl at the end of the year and expected to win their own division in the NFC East, and they're getting flat out embarrassed by the New Orleans Saints. I mean, this isn't even a ball game up to this point.
Still a long way to go. Eli Manning going to take a knee. And on a homecoming Sunday for Manning, returning to the Superdome, where he used to grow up watching games as a kid, he's been watching a Saints quarterback light it up. 34-17. Stay tuned. The NFL on Fox continues after a word from your local Fox station.